It's time for GarageBand Weekly here on Studio Live today. Today, we're looking at collaboration in GarageBand so you can share the love and share your projects with other people. We're also taking a bit of a rant about, those scammy, dodgy comments and grow together groups. Yeah, we'll be talking a little bit about that. And we're looking at a way to de-ess your tracks using Esspresso plugin. All that and a whole lot more here on GarageBand Weekly. Let's do it.
GarageBand Weekly, GarageBand Weekly, GarageBand Weekly.
Whoa! Thank you, Kronk Song, and thank you, everybody, for joining me for another week of GarageBand goodness here on GarageBand Weekly. Firstly, right off the bat, apologies. I had this show scheduled for 1 hour prior to the actual start time, so thank you to our friend Mark, who alerted me to this, and sorry for the folks who were waiting for me to start an hour ago. If you're watching on the replay, that'll make no difference to you, but I just wanted to put that out there on Front Street. Let's jump into the news and the notes of the last week, shall we, as they relate to GarageBand and GarageBand-related topics. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is universal control. What's universal control and why might it be cool for you as a GarageBand user? Well, universal control is something that's being added to iPadOS 15.4. It's just been launched in the beta and the new version of macOS Monterey. And it basically allows you to share your mouse and keyboard between your Mac and another Mac, or your Mac and your iPad. Now, why is this cool? Well, I know that I and a lot of you have a Mac or two Macs, or you have an iPad and a Mac, and you might want to be using the same mouse and keyboard with both of those without having to set up, lightning to USB adapters and a whole bunch of other kit. So now we have this method of doing it called universal control. Now, I am not a beta or a beta kind of guy, so I don't tend to jump in and test out this stuff, but other people do. So there's a video that I've linked down in the description if you want to check out what it's all about. Here's the dealio. We won't play the audio there, but we'll just take a quick look. So as you can see here, you've got your Mac set up, you put it next to your iPad, and you can bring your trackpad, you can bring your mouse cursor, and look at this. You're going to slide it on across, and boom, it goes straight over onto your iPad. Now, is this going to be a game changer? Maybe not, but is it kind of cool? Is it kind of something that might be interesting if you've got a setup like mine, where I'm literally looking at a screen here, which is my Mac, and then I've got my iPad screen right there, and I've got like two different mices to use for each different one? Well, yeah, for me, I think it's going to be kind of cool, because when I'm doing a demonstration on a show like this, and obviously this isn't just for people doing tutorials and things, but when I'm doing this, I have to, again, reach over to my second mouse to grab this and move it around. Imagine if I could just grab my mouse and use this as a secondary screen. Now, I know there's already sort of things that you can do that are similar to this with different apps. There's Duet, there's a bunch of other things, but to have this baked in to iPadOS and to macOS is pretty darn cool. Let me know what you think of this, and if you think that that is something that you will be checking out. Again, only in the beta or the beta version of this right now, but we'll be coming to your versions, your full versions, very soon. And jump down to check out the link over at Apple Insider to find out about it. Whenever my friend Patrick over at the GarageBand Guide has a new video, I usually talk about it, but this one's actually pretty cool. A lot of the time, folks say, Johns, you don't give GarageBand Mac enough love. And you're right, I don't, because I'm primarily an iOS user. But you know who does give GarageBand on Mac a whole lot of love? It's this guy. Yeah, it's Patrick from the GarageBand Guide. And in this latest video, he's actually helping save you money, right? Yeah, save your euros, save your American Freedom Eagles, whatever currency you use, you can do that. And he's got a whole collection of apps here. And by the way, I love Patrick's video production. Look at the way that the background goes in and out. See, I could learn from that because I just use a static thing, whereas his, he talks about the plugin, and while he's doing it, look at that. His background goes in and out. Sorry, it is actually really, really good information, so jump in there and check it out. He talks about the Nembrini Black, which is available on iOS as well as on Mac OS, as well as a whole bunch of other very cool and very free plugins. And you know what? Free is always good. You don't always have to be free. You want to support your developers, but free is good. So go and check that one out. Something that I've talked about this before, but I was scrolling through like I do. I was scrolling through a bunch of articles recently and about GarageBand, and I found this one that I haven't read for a long time, and it's from all the way back in 2019, and it is this one here. It is in Well, I think it's Rolling Stone magazine, or maybe it's James Bond magazine, because look at that advertising. My goodness. Is this going to let me even read it? Can I get rid of any of this caper? Wow. I read it on mobile first and it was a lot better, but look at that. The majority of that screen is taken up with advertising there. So go out and watch the new James Bond movie or don't. But if you can get past the blatant and in-your-face advertising on there, jump in and read this article because it talks about a lot of bands and a lot of artists who have used, I mean, everyone talks about the fact that Rihanna used that GarageBand loop and a lot of folks use Logic and a lot of folks came up through GarageBand and a lot of things. So yeah, go and read the article if you want to be inspired. If you're getting people saying and talking down to you saying, unless you're using Pro Tools, you're not really a professional, just go and check out how many artists are actually using GarageBand and to this very day use it to create demos, to create songs, and even to produce and mix and master their own music. Last thing I wanted to talk about here is something just for a bit of fun. And this is something that I heard about on another podcast that I listened to that's completely unrelated to music, but it is very darn cool. And it is this article here. It is what your favorite sad dad band says about you. And now, because I am a dad and I do listen to dad rock, I thought this was pretty funny. So I won't go through many of these. I'll just give a couple of highlights here. But all of the sad dad bands are there. Wilco, Pavement, Pearl Jam, Bright Eyes, Arcade Fire, Modest Mouse, Pixies, Everclear. They're all here. I went straight to a couple. I went to Pearl Jam first because they're kind of my favorite sad dad band and what it says about Pearl Jam. You have a lot to say about the little restaurant on the coast where you actually became good friends with the owner. He let you come by in the afternoon once to learn about cooking shellfish. You shake your head at the word crypto, right? 4 of your friends are named Josh. 1 dead friend is named Josh. You're glad you don't work in business development anymore. You wake up screaming sometimes. So, no, I don't exactly fit exactly that. But you know what? I did used to be friends with the local cafe owner. She did show me some tips about how to remove the eggshell when you're cooking eggs. I didn't have friends called Josh. I've got lots of friends called Tom and Dave, though. Thankfully, all of those are still with us. And I'm definitely glad that I don't work in business development anymore. Whew. The other one that I found really funny, because I'm actually a big Everclear fan. I've seen them live. I've seen them a bunch of times. They're a very cool band. And I was excited to see Everclear. You died 7 years ago. Poor Everclear. They're not that bad. Oh, yeah. Anyway, just a bit of fun. I just thought I'd throw that one in there. The text is very pixelated, is it? Well, I blame OBS. If you can't read the text there, because it's showing up okay on mine. Let's just try a zoom in, shall we? Boom, boom, boom. Just so we can. My zooming's not working. Yeah. Oh well, we'll come back to that. We don't have to show a whole lot. It's all good. Who's the best dad band? I should be listening to them. There you go. Hello, Bubba. Let's say good day to all the folks who are here in the chat. Poor Everclear. Hello, Clayton Von Kluge. Hello to SM Borthwick. G'day to you. Hello to Thomas Christ, one of our wonderful moderators here. Gary Hubbs is here. We've got, who did I see? I saw Theon. G'day to you. Ashley HM. Thank you for being here live. Guzzo of Oz, who was here early. He was one of the early birds who got here early for it to not be on. So apologies for that. Hey Timothy, I hope you are doing well. Yes, I'm still working. It's a work in progress here with the OBS stuff. So I'm still playing around with some resolution, and clearly I haven't got the resolution set correctly for my my screen there because it's not coming through at the right resolution. Looks okay on my side. Which is all that matters, right, when you're doing a live show? Yeah, sure. All right. Hello, Darren Bryant. Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. If you do have questions, and we do have Q&A time throughout the show, so please do put the word question in front of your comment, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I did see one very early on, so let me see if I can scroll back and find that one. It came in right as we started the show. There it is, Timothy. Question: Now that I own an Intel Mac Mini, I don't think I can use my audio kit apps for the Mini. No. So short answer to that is, and you might be referring to the fact that on the M1 Macs, so the newer Macs that are built around the M1, the system on a chip, SoC from Apple, anything that's the 2020 or later models, the MacBook Air, the MacBook Pro, and the Mac Mini, they all run M1 and they can run some iOS apps. Now, do they run them well? Not really. Do they run very many of them? No. But things like LumaFusion works really well on the M1 Mac, and there are some audio apps that are made for iOS that do work on Mac M1. Is it going to be your best experience anyway? Probably not. So yeah, I would not lose too much sleep. If you're still running it into a Mac, if it's still working for you, wouldn't lose a whole lot of sleep over the fact that you can't use your iOS apps on your Mac. Hi Pete, when you do your happy hour, but why do you use a dynamic mic and not a condenser? Do you use a mixer or audio interface to perform when streaming live? Well, thank you, Lee Davies. Thanks for the questions. The short answer is that this is actually a condenser. So the microphone I'm using, even though it looks handheld, it's actually a condenser mic. It uses phantom power. It's the Audio-Technica AE3300, one of their Artist Elite series. I only own it because I picked it up secondhand. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. I get a handheld mic that has very little noise, like unless you really tap it, so you get very little noise there, but it also has the ability to give you that little bit of audio boost. And because I'm going through my Zoom Live Track, the Zoom Live Track mixer is great, but the one thing that it doesn't do is have a condenser, have a compressor on the channel. So using dynamic mics, the dynamic range I get is a little bit too much. So when I'm talking in between songs, I'm really low, and then when I sing during the songs, it's fine. So I use this one, which is kind of the best of both worlds. So I do also have like the AKG D5 that I use, which is sitting right here. That's what I use for a lot of my vocal recordings, and I'll be using that in GarageBand to do some more vocals straight after this show for my Patreon folks. Shout out to my patrons. So I'll be doing that afterwards. And I also own the Audio-Technica AT2020, which is that full-on condenser. That's more like a side address condenser, more of a typical condenser mic. So hopefully that helps and answers the question. But yeah, it's horses for courses. I just find that this is the best all-rounder mic. And even though it does look like it's a dynamic mic, actually a condenser. So there you go. Oh no. Question. Have you finished your new rock song you're making this month? Sort of. No, but I will be straight after this. So yes, once again, if you are a patron, check your email because we'll be doing a live stream straight after this one, and we'll be finishing off that song. Tip, you could use Alt and F and find post with the word question without scrolling. Can I use Alt F in, will that work? I don't know. Will that work here in, because it's got the whole thing. Let's just see if this works here. If the whole stream falls down. Yeah, it does. Look at that. Who knew that? Good tip, Sion. It actually finds them, even if they're not showing in the chat at the time. How good is that? There you go. Productivity tip for the win from Sion. Very nice. Ben66, hello to you. Hope you are doing well. If we do have any other questions, we will get to them throughout the show. So let's crack on here because that was our news and notes. Our feature topic today is talking about collaboration. Now, as Ashley just alluded to, I'm in the middle of collaborating on a song. And when I say collaborating, I mean getting Jade Star to do my drums. So if you're a patron of Jade Star, and I highly recommend that you should be as well, you would have seen over the weekend that she talked about this a little bit, that she created some drums in GarageBand, not her platform of choice, but in GarageBand for me for my new song. So I've already done a test run of this, but what I thought I would do is to take you a little bit behind the scenes. Why don't we look at where we're at and how I can actually bring drums into this track. So let's go back a couple of notches here. So here was my song. This is the song that I'm working on. I'm pretty comfortable that we're close to there with all the tracks that we've done, except for drums, because you know what? We've got Logan here as our auto drummer just doing a little bit of this. Yeah. Oh, Mickey, you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Hey, Mick. Yeah. So we didn't want that. And look, the auto drummer is good. And don't get me wrong, auto drummer is fine and dandy like sour candy, but if you can use the actual drums, it's going to be better. So what we've got set up here is just a very basic, oh look, and I used to have it following my bass, but I've changed that. It's moved off there. So very basic drummer pattern. It doesn't change. It's just got minimal fills, and it was really just there to act as a metronome for me so that when I recorded guitars and bass and vocals like this, you've got an ego that drives me so crazy, but I just don't know. Love that. I love that delay sound that you get when you stop a door. Anyway, so I could have a decent thing. And the reason that I have that is that it's a heck of a lot better than trying to record to this. You've got an ego that drives me so crazy. I can definitely get more in the zone to this. than I can to just this. Right? So that is why I put in the drummer. So this drummer was never going to be here long term unless I came in and did a whole lot of work customizing, which I've done before and it works well. But you know what works better is having someone playing an actual, well, when I say an actual, playing a drum kit, an electronic drum kit, and then getting the drums into GarageBand. So that's what we have done with Jade Star. Now, Jade sent me a link via Messenger. I won't go into Messenger and show that, but she sent me a link, and the tip here, the way that I collaborate is not using the collaboration build here into GarageBand. I actually zip up my projects and then share them that way. So here's what I did at this point. I grabbed this file and I zipped it up here. So I've created a zip file of my GarageBand project. Why do you have to do that? Because some platforms like Google Drive or OneDrive or other cloud platforms don't support GarageBand.bam projects. If you've ever had a problem saying this file is corrupted, this file is unsupported, this file is just up Schnizzle Creek, then it's probably because you're trying to use a GarageBand project. So zip it up. How do you zip it up? You go to your Files app. So if we jump over here, we go to our Files app. So it looks very similar here in Files to what it does in GarageBand, but you get one very important additional function. So if we come in here to our folder, what we can now do is if we hold down on this one, we can hit the compress button. And that's all I did. I compressed this project and it created this zip file. I then went straight into the Google Drive app here on my iPad. I uploaded it and then I shared that file. I've done videos before. I've shown you how to upload and share. And then it went straight to Jade Star. She opens this file, she plays drums to it, and then she does the exact same at the other end. And I get back a link to a Google Drive of a zip file. So this is one I prepared earlier. If we paste this in, where are we? Paste. If we paste this in, I haven't got it anymore. Hold the line a moment here, folks. I've obviously copied and pasted something else since I actually did this. So bear with me a sec and I will do this. We will just go back to my message. We will grab this one and we will, and if you're in Messenger, I'm not showing you this, but just tap and hold on a link, or if you're anywhere, don't actually use any of its automatic opening type things. You know, see now it's calling me a liar by not working. So we want to tap and hold. Come on. It's continuously opening. Like most things, it's not working here when we're trying to do it live. But let's pretend that what actually happened here was when I went to this one, I just downloaded it. And you can actually see that if I go, it'll download the file. It'll say, do you want to download it? You hit download. And then here in your downloads, it'll pop it straight into there. So that's exactly what I did. And then what I did is I jumped back over here to GarageBand and grabbed it. Now, if I go to my recent file here, look at this one. Here is Toxic Ego 11 drums. So there's my Toxic Ego 10. Here's version 11 where Jade has added the drums. You need to turn off your green screen in OBS. There you go. I knew that there was something a bit weird going on here. Bear with me, uno momento. So we'll fix this. So that would have been the problem with everything else. See, this is why I don't do green screen stuff very often, because there should be a warning. Basically, there should be a warning saying you're not using a green screen, and we've detected green screeniness. There you go. But yeah, that could have looked pretty wacky, because it doesn't look bad at my end, but it's obviously looked pretty wacky coming through. Let's continue the fun times. So we'll go into this project now. Thank you for the help. This is why we have folks here that are live. If I did this show sort of live to tape, I would have gone an hour through the whole show, and you'd be looking transparently through my stuff the whole time, which would look really weird. Might look kind of trippy though. Everyone's like, man, is that my eyes? Have I just had a really big weekend, or is John's kind of like looking weird? So without further ado, here is the drums. So you can see here, Jade has done a bang up job. Is that the right terminology? So we've got all of the drums here. We've got kick drums, we've got snare drums, we've got hi-hats, we've got crashes, we've got rides, we've got it all here ready to rock and roll. And Jade has also added some cowbell, because we want more cowbell. So she's actually got a decent cowbell sample, because you remember from last time we had this cowbell, and the GarageBand Latin Kid cowbell leaves a lot to be desired. Right? Yeah, so we didn't really want that. So Jade's added some cowbell. So let's take a bit of a listen to what we've got in this version, and then I'll show you how we can actually bring this over, because I've done some work behind the scenes while Jade was working on this. So I want to bring this into the latest version of my mix. So let's hit play on this.
You've got an ego that drives me so crazy, but I just don't know how to quit. You think it's so...
So hopefully you agree that that is a whole lot better than Logan. Now, look, yes, we need to mix these. Yes, we need to add processing to these. But out of the gate, without any mixing, without a whole lot of effort, let's take a listen to these. We'll just solo them. Take a listen. And because Jade's an absolute pro, she's also done something that you'll notice down the bottom here. You'll see that she's using the Sunset kit, which is one of the better GarageBand drum kits for everything. And then you might be thinking, why is this last one the vintage kit? Well, that's because there's two different crash cymbals in here. As you're probably aware, a lot of drum kits have two different crashes, and it means that you can do things like pan one crash left and one crash right and have a really unique kind of sound without just the single crash, because, you know, if you're just like crash, crash, and it's all the same one, then it's no good. The cowbell, I know you'll want to hear the cowbell that was added here, so where did I put it? Where did the cowbell go? I'm zoomed in too much. Let's come over here. Right down to here and go... Right. Cowbell for the win. You always want more cowbell. Right, so I'm going to take note of a couple of things here before we do the next phase. And that is, I need to firstly know what bar these actually start on. And again, because Jade's awesome, she's made sure it starts right on bar 4. Even though there's nothing to here, she hasn't gone and trimmed this, because she'll know that I need to bring all of these tracks back in to my project. So let's show you how to do that now. What I need to do is draw a big box, tap outside, build a box around all these tracks. And thank goodness that GarageBand now, once again, lets you copy. So we're just going to tap copy. That's copied all of these tracks. GarageBand now lets you actually copy and paste tracks between projects, which is exactly what we're going to do here. So I'm going to jump back over to my version 10 of Toxic Ego. I'm going to jump down to the bottom here. I'm going to tap again, and look at this, we can paste. But before I hit paste, what do I want to do? Make sure we're on bar 4, people. If you're not, you're going to get out of sync stuff. And this is the biggest mistake I see folks make when they're collaborating. They don't know this trick. They don't know the fact that you have to be right there at the start, because if I paste it anywhere else, not going to line up. So let's hit the paste button there, and you can see there that one has lined up right there on bar 4, just like it did in Jade's version. It's put these all down the bottom. I can move them around, but there you go. It's maintained everything. It's brought everything in here across from that other project, and it's brought here into mine. So this is cool, because it means that if you're doing something like this, if someone's adding a drum part or a sax solo or something to your project, you don't have to wait for them. And this is why I use this technique rather than the iCloud collaboration. If you've ever used iCloud collaboration, which sounds cool on the surface, what you'll find is that you get all these versions, because you've changed something and then another person's changed something, and it just creates all these versions, and you never can work out. Well, I can't. I'm a simple man. I can never work out which version is the actual version. So I use this way so I can just send it out there. I keep working away. I've been mixing. I added a new guitar part. I re-recorded some vocals. Meanwhile, Jade adds the drums. I bring those drums back into my updated version. Works a treat. So what we'll do now is we'll grab all these tracks, and we'll leave them down the bottom actually for now. I'm going to mute out obviously my crappy Latin cowbell here, and I'm going to mute out Logan, and we're going to bring these drums back in to our mixed up track. So this is my newer version of the track with some nice new guitars. I've even got this, and we'll see how this works, because I've even got this this pick slide, sorry, not pick, cross between a slide and a pick scrape is a pick slide apparently. We've got this sort of slide intro here, so let's see how this works with Jade's drums, because this wasn't on here when I sent Jade the track. So this is the first time that I've heard and that you've heard these all coming together. So let's take a listen.
You've got an ego that drives me so crazy, but I just don't know how to quit.
Is that kick playing? Sometimes you do have some little glitches here where sometimes some of the tracks don't play immediately. Yeah, that kick wasn't playing, was it? This same thing happened when I was doing my test run. But as soon as I soloed it and came back in,
You got an ego that drives me so crazy, but I just don't know how to quit. You think it's okay to...
yeah, there you go. So that is brought back in there, and we're good to go. So we will then need to, of course, start mixing these drums in. And again, not to continually pimp the Patreon, but that's what we'll be doing on the Patreon stream today, is we'll be mixing these drums in, because we might find that the kick needs to be a little bit softer and the snare needs to be a little bit louder, and we can find a nice balance and mix here. The cool thing about having your drums separated out like this is you can then use your panning. So even though the drums are auto panned, so if we just take a listen, so this is, I think, the hi-hat track. Yeah, so that's panned a little to the right. It's a stereo file, but say we wanted it more right, we can do that. Or if we wanted to center it a little bit more, or put it over on the left, we can do that. So you can actually really manipulate the drums in a cool way. And if you're wondering how Jade did this, she's done videos on it. I have as well. If you've got a drum track, you can separate out your drums. It's simply a matter of grabbing each individual drum. So coming here into your edit function, and if you've got all your drums, you just find that one particular drum, you do like a big copy like this. You copy all of them out of one, and then you paste them into another drum track. It's a bit painstaking, but it only takes, maybe 5 minutes to take. What Jay would have done is played this all together in one track, and then just grabbed each individual kit piece and created its own individual track. And then with the crashes, she's gone in here and hand-picked which crashes should be on the original kit and which should be on this second kit. So it's pretty cool. So can we get some round of applause and some horns in the air for Jade Star for ripping out some epic drums in like 2 days. And I think because I've got this thing with Jade, where whenever she does drums for me, I usually like about 90% of what she does, and then I'll come back and say, oh, I like these, I like this, but this is really not doing it for me. So it's a bit of a running joke. And so I messaged Jade after she sent these through and said, oh, Jade, we've got a problem. I can't find anything that I don't like about these drums. So it was all good in the hood. But yeah, so that's how it's really simple. Once you get this down pat, like it's super simple. Again, those steps are grab your project, zip it, and then use Dropbox, use Google Drive, use OneDrive, use iCloud. Doesn't matter what you use, just upload it somewhere. Send someone the link, they download it, they add drums, add sax, add keys, add bass, add whatever. And then they re-zip that project, send it back to you, you copy the tracks, you chuck them in your project. It really is as simple as that. It's easy to get overcomplicated with this stuff, but if you just keep it simple, which is what I try to do, then you'll be golden. We need a jade emoji. Yeah, I know. I've tried that. Like, there's a green like gem or something. I'm like, it's not quite jade, but yeah, we definitely need a jade star emoji. So thank you. Let's. I think I saw some questions as we were coming through there, so I'll see if we can do that. Yeah. So as Jade said, I played some drums on my E-kit and then into one track and then split them. So yeah, if you're wondering about that, that's exactly how it works as we talked about before. When you play drums here in GarageBand, I'll give you a very quick demo. So I'm obviously not using an E-kit here, but when you're using an E-kit, all you do is go into your drums just like you would ordinarily. Actually, no, you don't go into the beat sequencer, do you? Jeebus. All right, we'll go into regular acoustic drums, and let's just say that you were recording drums in here. There you're going.
You got an ego that drives me so crazy that I...
So when you record drums in like that, it puts everything onto one track. So see how we've got this one track and it's got all the different kit pieces on there? Well, that's all Jade's done. She's played this in here and then come in and gone to edit. And then as you can see here, to create the kick drum track, all she's done is highlighted all those kicks, tapped it, hit copy, come out here, duplicate this track. So you just tap it, you hit duplicate, and then you can actually just paste those into the next track. Actually, that's not exactly right, because what you do have to do is actually copy and paste the whole thing first, so that you've got the basis of it, copy, paste. In fact, the way she's probably done it is the smarter way, which is actually to copy and paste everything in there and then remove what you don't want, which is actually almost an easy way to do it. Just get rid of everything else, delete, and there you go. You've got just your kicks in that one track. Rinse and repeat for every kit piece, and then you've got each individual track there ready to go. So I'm going to delete those now because I don't want to confuse myself with what's going on there. So depending on timing, if we have time at the end, we'll come back and play with that a little more. But I did want to show you that because I think a lot of people are a little bit confused or overwhelmed or a little bit intimidated by doing that sort of thing. And it's actually not too bad. It's not too hard at all. It's a very, very simple thing to do once you've done it a few times. Just try it. Just try it. Someone was asking about, where was the question here? Gary Hubbs does some collaboration stuff in all situations except two. It was WAV files going back and forth, not projects. And that's the other way to go too. It can just be a WAV file. You don't have to worry about that. Omni collective creativity. With your mess of Pete, you have to know what BPM the collaborators should play their part. So they think, so the beauty of sharing a project like we've done here is that all the BPM information's in there. So when Jade opens this one up, she can come in here to settings and see that it's at 111 BPM, that it's in G major, that it's in 4/4 time. But yeah, you're right. If I was collaborating, it's a good question. Let's talk, because I think someone else was asking about collaborating with people using other platforms. Let's just say that Jade vehemently didn't want to do this in GarageBand. She wanted to create stems using Audio Pro or Logic Pro or something like that for the drums. She wouldn't have to actually use the GarageBand project. All I'd do in that case is grab this version, I'd share it here as a song file and as an uncompressed wave, or even as an MP3 to be honest, but I'd probably do a wave. I'd share that file, then all she'd need to do is know the BPM. So I'd name this Toxic Ego version 10 BPM 111, and then she'd import it into whatever DAW that you'd like. So if she put it into Logic Pro, just set the project tempo to 111, import it, it'll all line up on the grid, and then play the drums over the top of that. So yeah, if you're not using the same platform, it actually doesn't matter. You can actually still do the same sort of thing. You just need to do it within with Jade's with WAV files. Absolutely. Hello, Devil's Thumb. Love GarageBand on my iPad, but sometimes feel I'll never graduate to a proper DAW. Does it really matter, though? It really doesn't. Look, I've ranted about this, and welcome, by the way. I don't think you've been around the community very long, Devil's Thumb, but I've ranted about this a whole bunch. But it's ones and zeros these days, folks. So whether I plug in my AKG D5 through my Steinberg UR22 interface into my 2021 MacBook Pro or my iPad Air 2, guess what? With virtually no distinction, it's converting the same stuff. It's going through the hardware, it's converting this analog signal, this noise that I yell at, and it's converting that into digital ones and zeros. And then it's playing that back through it. Yeah, now you can argue that maybe something like Logic Pro or Pro Tools has more plugins, has better audio processing ability once you get to sort of the mixing and mastering, and maybe. But a lot of people overthink that. They're thinking 10, 20 years ago where GarageBand was a toy because it was all loops and it was all virtual instruments and it was 16-bit audio and there were so many other things you could say about why GarageBand was bad. Whereas these days, guess what? Whether I use Logic Pro on my MacBook Pro or I'm using GarageBand on iOS, I'm producing 24-bit 44.1 kilohertz wave files at the end of the day using the same gear. So I don't really think it matters. Or it does not have a duplicate track. Oh, that is poor. I don't know. Surely there's a duplicate track. I can't remember. Maybe not. We'll just see if we've got any other questions. The Jade Star. Is that the Jade Star? We've gone off on a tangent here of everyone trying to find Jade's emoji. There you go. Is there any disadvantage to just send them an MP3 with the speed? In terms of quality, not really, because you're not going to use that. It's really just a guide track. So if you want to save on space, if you don't want to export like a 50 megabyte file and you just want to get like a 4 meg MP3 and send them that, then that's fine. But you could argue that the quality of the file, to make sure that they can really hear it and get the performance right, you don't want to be missing out on bits that might impact the performance of the person at the other end. So I don't know. I would always use Wave, but you don't have to. All right. And the live BPM app always works if you can't figure it out. Good point. Yeah, you can always use a BPM. Exactly. Good music is good music. A proper, and again, I know a lot of people, if you only have to read one Logic Pro forum or one Pro Tools forum, and keep in mind that people have sunk cost bias. They've sunk a lot of money into buying the hardware and the tools and the software. And if I was paying a $50 a month Pro Tools subscription, I'd sure as heck want to make sure that I was telling people how good it is and that you shouldn't use GarageBand, just quietly. And I know, and I should plug in my eDrum kit. I got lazy this month. Maybe next month I actually I give Jade a break and I plug in my eDrums. I use a lot of outboard gear when recording into a DAW. Do you use any? Not so much. I used to use a little bit. Now I kind of do almost everything in the box, to be honest. So no, not much. Not much difference. All right. Yeah, exactly. For 4 meg or 50 meg, my ears sound the same. Yeah, just watch out for auto normalization. True. When you're exporting from GarageBand, it will increase the volume of everything, so you may need to turn it down in the input of whatever DAW you're bringing into. So especially if you're doing an individual track, if you're doing like just a guitar track, or especially just like a violin track or something, then you do need to be careful with that. When Dan Baker recorded violins and used collaboration with him, we actually did use the GarageBand project method, because when he would record his violins, like a quiet violin part, if he exported that as a WAV file using GarageBand, it would auto-normalize that sucker, and it didn't sound as good. So he actually went in and recorded violins directly into my project. So that was the way it does. Yeah, my outboard gear is my guitar and my microphone, and that's about it. All right, let's move on. I'm gonna have a drink, and no, that's not a beer opening. That's it's some sparkling water here. All right. Next on our list of things is, we're gonna have a wee rant. So, my rant of the week, and this is inspired by a bunch of messages that I get often, but hello. Which I get often, but I don't often talk about. So we've got a couple of questions here that I'm just going to cover. I got slightly distracted. We're going to answer some questions, and then we're going to jump over and do my rant here, because Georgie says, I don't think Pete can see Facebook questions while you're doing the show. Jump over to YouTube and ask again. He'll see it live there. I think it did take me a while, but I think if I missed your question, Lee, you did have a question right at the start, which I think we answered. But if we didn't, then jump on back over there. And Peter has a question here. I recently started using drum samples instead of the virtual drums. Have you ever used samples, or have you considered using them? I haven't, but it's viable. A lot of people do use it, and a lot of big bands actually use drum sample replacements for even real drums. So they'll have a real drum that's played in, and then they'll go in and they'll replace like the snare drum with a drum sample. It's good. It's viable. The challenge there is you don't want to just use the same samples that everyone else has used, and then you're going to get stuck like sounding like everyone else. It's not going to be unique. But then again, if you're using virtual drums like in GarageBand, or you're using Superior Drummer, or you're using Addictive Drums, or any of those ones, you're going to have the same problem. All right, let's move on. So what I wanted to talk about, I've got a couple of comments this week and questions, and it happens almost every week where folks come to me and say, hey, I got a message on insert platform, SoundCloud, slaps.com, Instagram, Twitter, and it will say something along the lines of, I've just heard your tracks and they're really good. I have record company, radio station, playlist, whatever. We're collecting up artists, and we really want you because you're awesome. Now, without bursting too many bubbles here, the majority of those can be comfortably dismissed and ignored, because a lot of those are absolute form letters. And look, I know most of you know this stuff, but some of them are getting quite sophisticated, and some are getting even quite customized to you. Like, they'll actually go to the effort of saying, hey, I heard your song, insert name of your song here, and we really dig your vibe, and we're running a thing, and we're doing a thing. So what do you have to watch out for? Follow through and work out if you think that this is the way that an actual sort of A&R, like an actual person that's doing marketing and trying to find musicians, would go about it. Probably not. And would they contact you through these sort of platforms with links and with fire emojis and 100 emojis? Probably not. So I just wanted to put it out there, because too many people are coming and asking me about this, that it must be a problem out there and people must be struggling with it. The other thing that we're getting a lot of these days is the drop your links, the plethora of posts that I see everywhere that's like, drop your link, and it's the same sort of thing. Drop your links. I've got a radio station, playlist, I'm an influencer, I'm a whatever. Drop your links and we'll get you included. Now, is there anything wrong with this on the surface? No. Is it inherently dangerous? Not really. But what will probably happen, and I've done these just for experimental purposes. So you'll drop your links, and then you get on this list of people, and I kind of call it the sucker list, because you'll start getting some interesting DMs that start coming into your mailbox, and some interesting emails. And because again, I did this for experimentation early on, I've got some really interesting emails, and I've shared them before on the Create, Record, Release Facebook group, so you can jump over there if you want to see some examples. But yeah, there'll be things like, oh yeah, I want to grow your Instagram followers. It's only $20 for 1,000 followers. Or you want to grow your YouTube subscribers, or join my Spotify. Oh, the funniest one. And look, I'm not picking on this particular group, but I'm going to. I'm not going to pick on it, but I am. Is this group. Now, this group's called DistroKid Collaborations. It's a public group, so that's why I'm comfortable showing it here. It's not a private group. And it's not affiliated in any way with DistroKid. Yes, they're using the logo and the name, but they haven't even got the K right. DistroKid has a large K there. So, DistroKid Collaborations. And if you ever want to find, if you want like the 101 of what to look for in not doing things and how to not act in a group, go and check out this group. So, and I know I don't think anyone from this group would actually be watching, but here's an answer. I have 5 Spotify playlists and I'm looking for daily streamers who want to join so they can boost their streams, monthly listeners and followers. Yeah, you put your thing in there. Like, yeah, look, here's all my playlists. Look at all the plays that we're getting. Why wouldn't you go and join those? Well, because you're going to join a list and then they're going to start DMing you all the time. Let's get updated. When are you dropping your next album? Who has good music, videos that I can support? Artists looking to be part of our live review. Now, look at this. When there are 7 fire emojis in 2 sentences, yeah, you know you got problems. So who's got the fire? Drop links. I'm listening. Interested in joining a Spotify stream team. Now, these are the ones that kind of give me the most the most joy, because a Spotify stream team sounds so cool. It's like, yeah, let's go stream team. What it's basically saying is, let's all go and stream each other's music so that we get artificial plays, so that we can, get those 0.07 cents per stream and, quit our day jobs and become famous. Number one, really not going to work, because I don't care. Even if you've got 50 people that are getting together and streaming each other's music, it's not really going to make a dent, is it? With how much streaming services pay, it's not really going to make a difference. And in terms of the streams that you get, not going to make a difference either. And you know what's smart these days? You know what's probably smarter than a stream team? The algorithms that Spotify and Apple Music and all these other platforms use. They detect this. And guess what happens when they detect this? Yeah, they ban you and remove your music. Think it doesn't happen? It's happened. There was like almost 1 million songs that were removed from Spotify a couple of years ago because people had what were deemed to be artificial streams that they got through these stream teams, through these grow-togethers, through these sort of things. So that is my warning. That is just what I wanted to throw out here. I know it's not specifically GarageBand related, but what I hate, I really despise when people take advantage of other people, especially people who are vulnerable, and especially when they're sucking up to them, when they're kissing their butt to try and get them to do something, when really all they're doing is trying to generate revenue through a dodgy scam. So again, just proceed with caution. At best, you might get a couple of streams on some weird playlist or radio station. At worst, you're going to get an inbox full of spam. And at absolute worst, you're going to get people that are going to jump in and try and do things like, identity theft and all that horrible stuff. Very rare. If you protect your stuff, have your 2-factor authentication, do all the right things security-wise, you'll be fine. But who needs that? Who needs all that stuff in their inbox? Burn says, I've been getting those emails. I ignore them and delete them. They are phishing expeditions. Exactly. And that's the other thing. The worst case, they are phishing. They're trying to get your details, or they're trying to get you excited to spend money. So, yeah. I'll drop my links if you drop yours first. Show me mine and I'll show you yours, says Bear. If I drop my link, exactly. And there's going to be links just littered all over the place. If everyone's dropping their links, then there's just going to be links lying all over the place. It's not going to be fun. Alrighty. Yes, a brown noser gets dirty fast. Exactly. All right, let's continue on and go to our next section where we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about our app of the week. Now, I haven't really shown many apps lately. I let Jade Star and I let other folks do the app stuff, and I've sort of kept to myself. But there's something that I want to try, and I'm going to try it live. Nothing like trying things live, right? I'm going to try it live here on the show because what I've got here. Oh, by the way, I need to duplicate out. Is this the version that we just added Jade's drums to? Because I need to create an extra version. Yes, it is. So before I mess about with stuff, what do? We duplicate, tap and hold. We duplicate that track, and we've got version 11. In fact, just to differentiate it from Jade's version, we're going to go version 12. So let's go version 12 and bring it in here. Yeah, Gary Hubbs is tripping over links. He's got links out the wazoo. So we'll come into this one. What I wanted to show you today is a de-esser plugin, because if you are a suffering succotash lisper like me, getting your S sounds to not sound so sibilant is a significant, serious issue. So we're going to look at a de-esser. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to work on this particular vocal, because I've actually got not only S sounds in this one, it's gone worse than that. I've got plosives. Like, I was really too hot on the mic on this one, and it really didn't sound good. So I'm going to try this de-esser firstly on my vocal, but I think it might be beyond repair. I think we might be re-recording, which is why I'm getting my mic ready to go here. But if we grab this one and take a listen to the vocals here, this is what we got.
You've got an ego that drives me so crazy, but I just don't know how to quit.
So there's quite a lot of S's sounds in there. So if you've got a vocal here and you want to try and remove some of those S's, you can use your own EQ. You can find the frequency and you can try and dip the EQ there using something like LRC5 or LRC7 here in GarageBand. Or you can try using this. It's an app from Klevgrand called Esspresso. Let's just get rid of that enhanced tuning. We don't need it. We don't need no stinking auto-tune. And we're going to add this one. So we'll go to audio unit extensions. We'll scroll on down and it's called Esspresso. It is $7.99 US Freedom Eagle dollars, and you can pick it up in the App Store if you want to. Like all things Klevgrand, it's a pretty simple interface. You've basically got your detector up the top here. This is detecting your sibilant frequencies, and then you've got your suppressor down the bottom, and this is suppressing those sibilant frequencies. So I'll show you the concept of how it all works here, and then we'll give it a crack on this track. So if we play this track, we'll find the bits. Actually, I think there's I think the second half of this has, actually, no, it's right up here that it has a whole lot more S's. Let's just find this part.
You think it's okay to treat me like a baby, and I just put up with it.
Yeah, you think it's okay, and I just put up with it. So we'll try this. We'll use this little chunk here between bars 9 and 12 as our little test run here. So what we can do is when we come in here, if we can play the track, it'll actually show us a visual representation here, and we can try and locate where those S sounds are. So let's hit play.
You think it's okay to treat me.
Do I not have it on? Yeah, it helps if you turn it on. So here, we're going to turn it on, and then we're going to come back in here. I'm like, oh no, it's failed already. Let's take a look.
You think it's okay to treat me like a baby, and I just put up with it.
Right, so did you hear that bit where the S came in? What we're looking for is where it's actually here. So if we play it again.
You think it's okay.
So did you see how up the top here, and we can move this so we can decide where we're going to find those S sounds. So I think that the S sounds are kind of up here.
You think it's okay to...
Yeah, there they are, right in that zone there, yeah? So that's where we're finding those S sounds. So that's where we're going to put this in. Now you do have a sensitivity over here, which is cruel. It's called sensitivity for those of us that lisp. So we're going to take another listen to this and just make sure it's in that spot.
You think it's okay to treat...
Yeah, so I think that's the spot. Now down here in the suppressor, you've got a couple of options. You can suppress here using this one here. This is your band pass suppression, which means that what you generally want to do is just reduce it just before and just after that frequency, just to kind of round it off there. As you can see, it kind of just dips it down. You've also got this one here, which does the whole lot. I don't know why you'd want to do that. And then you've got this one here, which does everything above that. So this one's usually pretty good because up here there's not much information. So you can usually suppress anything above where your S sounds are, and they'll work pretty well. But I'm going to use this one, the bandpass one, just to test it out with this. So are we comfortable with found our S sounds? Well, we've actually got another tool in here, the solo tool, that may actually help us, because if we hit the solo button, so we can start hearing that. I think we probably need to go even a little bit higher, because you can only just sort of hear it, because this is just telling you the bit that it's actually finding. Yeah, so you can hear that sound that's coming in there. So we'll use that to start with, and then the actual bringing it down is using this one here on your suppressor. So the more, if we leave it up the top here, you can hear that coming through there. If we start bringing this down, then it's hopefully going to remove out some of that. And then if we bring it back in here with the unsolo, and we play it again.
You think it's okay to treat me like...
Is it doing much? a little bit. It's touching the edges. I did say at the start that this was going to be a big test for this one to actually be able to reduce it. But what we'll do is we'll bring it back into the mix because that's going to be the test here. If we play it here in our mix, we'll play it once through without any de-essing, and then we'll play it once through with de-essing. So let's try this now.
You think it's okay to treat me like a baby, and I just put up with it.
And let's add the de-esser there to see if it's going to bring down.
You think it's okay to treat me like a baby, and I...
Yeah, not bad. It has just sort of rounded off. It's not going to remove it. Remember, you can't remove the frequency, otherwise you won't hear anything either side of it. It'll just completely cut out that frequency, which has probably got notes and other things in there. But let's just play it from the start here and see if it's done its job.
You've got an ego that drives me so crazy, but I just don't know how to quit.
Not bad, right? Just, yeah, some of those S sounds that were a little bit harsh to begin with, it's just kind of ground them off a little bit. So it's pretty cool. It's an easy way to just give yourself a little bit of a reduction in those sibilant S's if you've got a lispy kind of voice like I do. There's a whole bunch of other things in there that you can play with. There are presets that you can use, which don't really work that well because everyone's kind of different. So you can go in here. There's like male, female, high frequency, and Spanish for Swedes. I don't know what that is. Klevgrand are weird dudes. But what we can actually do is we can actually save this in here. So if I find that this is Pete's Lisp, then I can save myself a preset there. And then when I come in, it gives me a place to start. So every time I come in here and I'm starting to work on a de-esser, I can now use the Pete's Lisp preset because my S sounds are going to be around about the same area. So there you go, Klevgrand Esspresso. Check it out down in the description if you want to play with it. All right. Let's see. We'll see if we've got any armed to suppress. See if we've got any other questions here, and if there's anything else that we can answer. We've got folks talking about outboard gear, which, look, it's cool. Do I like outboard gear? Do I think that outboard gear is cool? Hello, Russ. How are you doing? Do I think outboard gear is cool? Yeah. Would I probably go nuts and have far too much of it if I actually got too into outboard gear? Also, yeah. So the reason that I don't is that because I've got a bit of an addictive personality. Same reason I don't collect vinyl records, because I wouldn't be able to stop collecting vinyl records. And it's the same with gear. If I started getting outboard compressors and EQs and reverb units and delay units and stuff, I'd get to the point where I wouldn't be able to stop. And I want to be able to stop. I know. Tremor Bear, I asked myself that. Why does the word lisp have an S in it? It's to make fun of those of us who lisp. And by the way, the other thing I'll say about that is just like auto-tune isn't always the answer if you're singing slightly off the key, you don't always have to remove your S's. Like, it's not that bad. And there's been plenty of vocalists that have had unique sounds to their voice that you leave in, and it's fine. Peter says vinyl is an addiction, and I'm hooked. Yeah, that's why I'm not doing it. That's why I'm not there. All right, let's check our notes here and see where we're up to. So tip of the week. Right, this week's tip is going to be over here, not there, but here. This week's tip of the week. We're going to grab this track here and take a look at this. So, if you've got a big arrangement like this where you've got a whole lot of different guitars and keys and vocals and things, you may find that you're getting a lot of build-up at the low end and the low mid-range. And what I'm going to show you here is a tip that I've started using. And look, it's a very old tip, but it's using a high-pass filter, which is a very simple approach here to reduce some of those bass sounds in your instruments that don't need bass. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's come in here. First of all, let's listen to an actual bass instrument. So this is our bass in this track. It sounds like this. Just turn it up so we can hear it. And if you're not familiar with bass frequencies, they are the ones down the bottom, funnily enough. So if we go into our visual EQ, this is a good way. I don't suggest, using the analyzer for everything, but if you come in here to your visual EQ and you turn the analyzer on, it'll help you learn where some of the frequencies are in your bass. So let's play this. So you've got your primary frequencies down here. You can see it going up and down. And these are all your harmonics that are coming up here. So your main frequencies are sitting down here. Now, that is cool. We want those frequencies to be in our bass, but we don't necessarily want those frequencies to be in a lot of other instruments, including things like guitars. Now, there's some people that say put a high-pass filter on everything that isn't your kick drum and your guitars, on every track. I think that might be overkill, because unless you've got a lot of low rumble, you live next to a highway where there's big trucks going past, you're probably not going to get that much low end in your other tracks anyway. But if you're finding, so this particular track, what I'm finding at the moment is it's kind of muddy. Let's play it with all the instruments in here. We'll turn that bass back down a bit with all the instruments in here.
You've got an ego that drives me so crazy, but I just don't know how to quit.
So we've got, it's sounding okay, but we want to clean up, because I think, because we've got these 3 distorted guitars here, I actually want to take a look at these, and we can do the same thing. Let's go in here to this particular one. So this is our first rhythm guitar over on the left. And if we turn our analyzer on, now that's pretty clean. You can see that there's not much going on there below that 50, 60 hertz mark, which is that sort of low rumble, or even below 100 hertz here. So it's going off down there. So this is probably not causing us any trouble. Let's just do the same. We'll just come through and have a look at each of these. So let's look at this, this other rhythm guitar. What's this doing? So that one may be having a little bit more in the way of rumble. So that may be something that we want to play around with. The other thing that is worth looking at is your vocals. So vocals in particular can pick up a lot, because if you've ever bumped a mic stand, you get that boom kind of sound. If you've ever had a bus go past, if you happen to live near buses or trucks or trains or whatever, and you get those low rumbling sounds, or you've got a low like 50 hertz hum that's coming from your ground of your power supply, anything like that, that's where you may want to check this out. So let's take a look at these vocals, and we'll turn the analyzer on and see if we're getting any frequencies down in the lower end.
You've got an ego that drives me so crazy, but I just don't know how to quit. You think it's okay to treat me like a...
Not too bad, yeah. So if we had a lot of that rumbling, you'd be seeing sort of more of a static kind of thing down here that would be a problem. However, if you've got these problems, and if you've got something, so say we go with this one that we did have too much, you can use this. So you can use your visual EQ to just ramp it off like that. But that's going to actually color up the sound quite a bit. So I'll show you what this will do. We'll use this one. It's only going to be on one side if you're on stereo, so apologies for that. It's going to be on the right or the left. That's what I meant, the left. So if we bring this down, it's not actually a true high-pass filter, because you can see how it's ramping down everything in that 200, 300, 400, 500 hertz range. We don't really want that. We want it to kind of chop right down there from maybe the 100 hertz or even the 200 hertz. We don't want it to go that far down, or even 50 hertz, just to get rid of all that low rumble. So you can use this in your analyzer to kind of determine what you need, but GarageBand has actually built in a whole bunch of plugins here that are going to help us out. So if we edit this track, and what aren't we using at the moment? We're not using that flanger. So actually, we're not using the track reverb. We'll get rid of that. We can actually add in this filter. So if we hit the plus button here and go to audio unit extensions, if we scroll on down to the bottom here, you can see here, we've got all of these ones. And one of them that we have is a very, very simple high pass filter. So if we tap on the high pass filter and then we tap on this Apple logo, look at what we got here. It is literally just a straight high pass filter. So, and you can see here that instead of it doing what the other one did, where it ramps everything down. I mean, you can sort of make it like that if you want to, but you can also control it on 2 axes here. So you can make sure that it's only going down from the frequency that you want it from. So say you wanted to ramp it down and you wanted to put your high pass filter at 100 hertz to roll off everything there below 50 hertz and make sure that you're reducing it between 50 and 100 hertz, you can put it there like that. So let's see how this actually sounds. If we bring it all the way up here, you're going to get a weird kind of sound. So it's basically filtering out all the frequencies below 15, below 1000 hertz, below 400, below 200, below 100, and then right down here below 50. So often you want to use this like right down here, because it's not actually the really audible sounds that you're going to get, but it's to remove some of that rumble and some of that stuff that you might have in there. So that's going to remove that out there. And then if we bring this back into our track and take a play.
You've got an ego that drives me so crazy, but I just don't know how to quit.
And see how now that we've gone back to our analyzer, because we've got that, there is literally nothing down here. So if you're seeing big build-ups down here, the easiest way to get rid of it is to jump in here and use your high-pass filter. It's a simple plugin. It does one thing, and it does it well, and you'll be good to go. So there's the high-pass filter in GarageBand. And by the way, if you haven't downloaded those plugins before, they're all of the Apple AUV3 plugins, so you can go and download them all. You have to go in. Actually, I'll show you that. I've showed it in other videos, but I'll show you where you go. You go into this one here. You go to advanced. Is it this bit here? I've got to try and remember now. No, it is in the settings for GarageBand. So if we come out of here and we go to settings, and I've showed this a bunch of times, so apologies for those that have seen this a heap before, but if we scroll on down to settings and GarageBand, I've got too many apps. GarageBand, it is this one, enable iOS effect plugins. So if you haven't done that, come in here to your GarageBand, scroll down to enable iOS plugins, and then you'll be good to go, and you'll be golden. How are we for time? We are over time. Well, that's surprising. I never go over time. Let's jump in and see if we've got any comments or any questions from other folks. Don't do it. Don't. Why not? What tone are you using? What was on that one? What was on that guitar? I think it was a tone bridge tone. We'll show all this stuff again in the Patreon show afterwards. That one was actually the Nembrini Crunk, I believe. That one was this one here. Yeah, the Nembrini Crunk and the Nembrini Black that I had on that one. So that was all Nembrini all the time, which is kind of cool. But it would be so we've got answers to other questions that we've got there. We'll just see if we've got any things. Bear says I rarely use EQ or filters because I don't understand them. Yeah, that's the thing. And Thomas says I use this trick all the time. Yeah, and again, like most things, there is no rules. Like a lot of people want there to be rules. They're like, Pete, just tell me what do I do with my compressor? What's the threshold? What's the ratio? How does it work? Well, it depends. It depends on you and the track that you've recorded. It depends on your taste and what you want to hear and not hear in the track and how much effort you want to go to that. And it depends on the song and the style of music and the type of music that you're recording. So, yeah. Interesting using the inbuilt one. I usually use LRC5. Yeah, and that's the thing. Good point there from Sion. You might be thinking, why wouldn't I just use LRC5 instead of doing that? And you can basically do the exact same thing with LRC5. I just find this one's a bit more precise and I spend a little bit less time. If all I want is a high-pass filter, I can just use that. But if you come down to, where is it? LRC. I've lost it. LRC5 or LRC7. I still use LRC5. I'm sorry. I still prefer it. So you can actually do that and it does basically the same thing. And you can see your frequencies are over on the right here. So you can do exactly the same sort of thing here. Sadly, I'd love this to LRC7. If it had a spectrum analyzer, I would use that. But it doesn't. And look, it's not that I don't think you should mix with your eyes. Like, I know that that's another thing that a lot of people say. It's like, no, never look at anything. I think sometimes look at some things, because sometimes it can just tell you. If you're finding a whole lot of muddiness, you might find when you look at that there's some frequencies in there. And the other thing is, and I was ranting about this on Mike's show over on Creative Source the other day, when you're starting out and you're learning, you may not know what 100 hertz sounds like, or 50 hertz, or 200 hertz. You may not know. And look, I still don't know. If you said to me, what frequency range is a saxophone in? I'd be like, I don't know, like kind of up there in the mid some. I don't know. I'll listen to it and I'll go, oh, what does it need? And maybe I'll look at a spectrum analyzer and see what it is. Thank you, Patrick. What the hell is jam session? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. No, so I've never used a jam session because I've just never got there. It is where you can jam with other people, I believe, over Bluetooth. So you all connect up to each other's iPhones and iPads, and then you all play different virtual instruments, and it all sort of plays it together. I've never done it. It's the one option that I've literally never touched in GarageBand, because no one has ever asked me to do a video on it. So until someone, if you want me to do it, someone tell me. Say, do a video on it, and I'll do one. But no. Yeah, exactly. It's old tech that they've pretty much abandoned. It's just there for historic, nostalgic purposes, I think. Is this for real? I mean, it's as real as it's going to get. It's as real as a virtual live show can be. Like, I'm not actually in your house, but I'm on your screen. Any idea about the volt interference from volt interfaces from Universal Audio? Yeah, only what I've heard from. I think I mentioned it a few weeks ago. Only what I heard from Sanjay C. So someone who I generally trust with their stuff is the one and only Sanjay C. And he, wrong one. There we go. So he's actually done a couple of videos on these, 3 in fact, a whole lot in fact. He's all over it. So he's got a bunch of videos there on the Volt interfaces. They look cool. They look retro. They look like they're doing things. But I don't know. They seem to be well priced for what they do, and I'm not sure whether he's got them for free or whether he's sponsored by UA or what it is. But yeah, that's what I would jump over there and check out. What does New Bayers mean? I don't know. But yeah, go check out Sanjay's reviews because he's usually pretty consistent with what he has to say and pretty trustworthy. So go and check that out. Thank you everyone for being here. I know. Is this the real life? Is it just fantasy? The Dan Baker video. Dan Baker does really good videos, by the way. Speaking of which, that's someone else I should have on the Creator Town Hall. I'm going through trying to work out who I should have on the Creator Town Hall because actually we'll finish off with that in just a moment. I'll let folks know what we've got going on here in just a moment. We've got some Bohemian Rhapsody happening here. The final thing I'll say is that we are brought to you today by the Studio Live Today GarageBand FAQ. So if you go to studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand, guess what? You're going to come right over here to the GarageBand iOS FAQ. So you can check out my GarageBand course. It's just $10 and it's 5 hours of curated content. If you're new to GarageBand and all this stuff seems overwhelming, let me guide you through it. It's all completely transcribed and it's only 10 American Freedom Eagles. And then we've got a whole bunch of links here. So we've got all of the playlists of videos, how to start out with GarageBand, how to set up a song, all of my quick jams and all of my essential GarageBand videos. We've then got a whole bunch of Q&A here. And as Sion correctly said before, if you use your Command F or your Control F, you can put something in here. So say you want to learn more about EQ, just type in EQ and it's going to go there. There you go. It mentions it here in compression, but if you hit the down button here, there you go, EQ. How do I use the visual EQ in GarageBand? You tap on the mixer, plugins, and select visual EQ. So I've given you the answer. The TLDW, the too long didn't watch answer. But if you want to actually watch it, you can click the link there and it will take you straight into a relevant video where young Pete rants about EQ. So it's a pretty handy resource if I do say so myself. It's all completely free, of course, unless you buy the course for $10. But hey, what's $10 is worth it if you're starting out, I would say. There you go. Leela says, I bought the course a year ago when I first started watching Pete. I just discovered. Nice. Thank you. Appreciate you. And look at you now. Look at you here, part of the community, doing your thing. Great job, Leela. Appreciate you. All right. That is going to do it for this show. But there is a heap going on here on Studio Live today coming right up. So I'm just going to take you quickly through what we've got going on. If I go over to here, to the YouTubes, and I go to I'll go into here. I'll take you behind the scenes here into my the back end of my live shows because you'll be able to see just how many live shows that we've got coming up here. So over here. Here's where we are live right now, but if we go back in time, we've got my Patreon show coming up for patrons straight after this one. We've then got tomorrow a celebration of 6 years on YouTube. We've then got the Creator Town Hall, which, that one hasn't been updated yet. That is going to have our friend Mike from Creative Source will be joining me for this week's Creator Town Hall. They've got, of course, Your Music Live, and then, a couple of great Creator Town Halls coming up with Ricky T. Brown, who's the admin of the Home Recording Zone Facebook group, which is very cool, and Night Train 1988. So we've got a whole bunch of cool stuff coming up, but tomorrow I'll direct your attention to this particular one. 6 years. It is a celebration of 6 years on the YouTube. So yes, there's me playing some songs, but we'll be celebrating 6 years on YouTube, and that's directly after Jade Starr's show where she's celebrating 500 episodes of How to App on iOS. So it's a week of celebrations. It's going to be fun. So thank you everybody for being here, and I'll see you around the channel. And as we say at the end of every show, please be kind to yourself. Please be kind to others and keep on creating. And I'll see you next time on this very show called GarageBand Weekly. Bye for now.
GarageBand Weekly, GarageBand Weekly, GarageBand Weekly.
See ya.